the pain you've been enduring, or the silent battles you're fighting behind closed doors. But I do know one thing. What I'm about to reveal to you will challenge everything you thought you knew about breakthrough, about faith, and about why things seem stuck in your life. You may even find yourself asking, why has no one told me this before? Because what I'm about to share isn't just another prayer, it's a spiritual key. And once you understand it, everything will begin to shift. You see, every single person on this earth, no matter who they are, is subject to a law that governs all things, a law that has existed since the beginning of time. Some call it the cycle of life, others call it the ebb and flow, but I know it as seasons. You see, when God created the world, He designed it in rhythms and cycles. The Bible says, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. Genesis 8, verse 22. Seasons are not optional. You cannot escape them. The sun rises and the sun sets. The tide comes in and the tide goes out. Life brings joy and life brings sorrow. And just as the earth moves through spring, summer, fall, and winter, so will you. And here's the truth, and this may surprise you. Some of you are trapped in a season that should have already ended. I mean, it should have passed long ago. But somehow you're still there. Maybe it's the season of struggle, where doors just won't open. The season of loneliness, where it feels like you're invisible, or the season of delay, where everything you pray for seems just out of reach. And here's what you need to know. Seasons can last far longer than they should. Some people have been stuck in a winter season for years, wondering if God even remembers them. In fact, some have remained in this state until they left this world. But this will not be your story, because today you're going to break out of this cycle. And it all starts with a powerful spiritual key, a simple yet profound shift that will change everything. Now, listen closely, because I'm not just going to give you the words to say. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to use them. Because if you don't understand this properly, you may use the words amiss. But trust me, I am a good guide, and it's time to break out of this cycle. So let's get started. Let me introduce you to Emmett Fox. He was a man who understood spiritual law. He realized something most people never grasp, a principle so simple yet so transformative that it can literally change the outcome of any problem. He taught that when you're struggling, overwhelmed, or feeling stuck in a negative season, the solution is not to focus on your problems. Instead, he said, stop thinking about the problem entirely and think about God instead. That's it. But let's be honest, do you actually do this? When life feels like it's caving in, when your finances are a mess, when your relationships are breaking apart, what do you focus on? Most people, even believers, keep their eyes locked on the problem. They think about it all day, they analyze it, they talk about it, and then they pray about it, but not in faith, in fear. Have you ever done that? You pray, but in reality, you're just worrying out loud. You're asking God for help, but in your heart, you're doubting if He'll actually come through. And here's the truth Emmett Fox understood. Whatever you focus on, you magnify. Let me say that again. Whatever you focus on, you magnify. But the second you shift your focus to God, the second you let go of the problem and turn your thoughts toward Him, light enters the situation. Now, let's get to the real question. How do you actually do this? How do you stop obsessing over your problems and fully shift your focus to God? Whenever you feel fear, doubt, or frustration creeping in, say this out loud. God is in charge. Divine order is now established in my life. I surrender this problem completely to God, knowing it is already resolved in the best possible way. I will repeat it 2 more times. God is in charge. Divine order is now established in my life. I surrender this problem completely to God, knowing it is already resolved in the best possible way. God is in charge. Divine order is now established in my life. I surrender this problem completely to God, knowing it is already resolved in the best possible way. Now, knowing just these words will not be enough. It's like having the most powerful tool in your hands, but never learning how to use it. You may say the words, but if you don't apply them the right way, nothing changes. So this is what I will do. I will show you 3 powerful ways to use this prayer effectively. Because everyone, no matter who you are, has either faced, is currently facing, or will face situations where these principles will make all the difference. The first way to use this prayer. Listen to me. This is not just a prayer you say. This is a prayer you own. A prayer you command. A prayer you declare with absolute certainty. Because the way you say it determines the power behind it. If you say, God is in charge, but your voice is shaky, your heart is still racing, and you're still checking every 5 minutes to see if your problem has changed, then you haven't really surrendered it. You're still holding on. You're still doubting, but that's not how this works. You have to speak this prayer like a final verdict, like a judge who has ruled on the case and won't hear any more arguments, like someone who knows that they know that God is already moving. So, right now, wherever you are, say it with me. God is in charge. Divine order is now established in my life. I surrender this problem completely to God, knowing it is already resolved in the best possible way. Again, but this time, say it like you mean it. God is in charge. Divine order is now established in my life. I surrender this problem completely to God, knowing it is already resolved in the best possible way. Feel the difference? Now, here's the secret. Whenever fear tries to creep back in, whenever worry knocks on your door, you don't answer it. Instead, you say this again, and again, and again, until your mind believes it, until your spirit accepts it, until your whole being rests in it. Because the moment you do that, you'll feel something shift. And that's when God moves. The second way to use this prayer. Now listen carefully. This is where most people mess up. They say the prayer, they feel a little relief, and then 5 minutes later, the doubts creep back in. They start thinking, but what if this doesn't work? What if my situation gets worse? What if I need to take control again? And just like that, they undo everything. Here's what you need to understand. The moment you pray this prayer, your job is done. Your only responsibility now is to refuse to entertain any thought that contradicts it. That means the second your mind starts worrying again, you shut it down immediately. Not later. Not after you've panicked a little. Immediately. The second doubt enters, you cut it off. You don't let it grow. You don't let it play out in your mind. You don't have an internal debate about whether God is really working. Number. You interrupt the thought. You say out loud, no. I refuse to think like this. God is in charge. Divine order is already established. I will not pick this back up. And if the thought tries to creep in again, you shut it down again, and again, and again, until your mind has no choice but to align with the truth. Because here's the reality. If you entertain doubt, you invite delay. But when you stand firm, when you refuse to let your mind wander back to fear, things start moving. So, from this moment on, you are making a decision. You will not speak this prayer and then take the problem back. Once you give it to God, it's His, not yours. And the moment you truly understand that, everything changes. The third way to use this prayer. Now, this is where people get stuck. They say the prayer, they cut off the doubts, but then they just wait. They sit around, looking for signs, checking if something has changed, constantly asking, Is it working yet? But listen, faith is not passive. If you truly believe that divine order is established, if you truly believe that God is in charge, then your actions must reflect that belief. That means once you've prayed, you move forward with confidence. You don't sit in fear. You don't hesitate. You don't second guess. You act like someone who already knows the problem is solved. If you prayed about a financial breakthrough, you don't walk around in anxiety. You plan, you prepare, you move as if abundance is already on its way. If you prayed for healing, you don't talk about how sick you feel all day. You start aligning your habits, your words, and your mindset with the reality that healing is happening. If you prayed for an opportunity, you don't stay in bed waiting. You show up, you take the next step, you position yourself for the blessing, because faith without action is dead. So here's what you do. After you've prayed, ask yourself, what would I do if I already knew this prayer was answered? And then, go do that. Because when your prayer, your thoughts, and your actions align, that's when breakthroughs happen. If you're going to try this, drop a "God is in charge" in the comments right now. I want to see how many people are stepping into faith today. And if this message blessed you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it.